Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe Podcast, aka the Pup List. We are a Green Bay Packers fan podcast that brings you topical and relevant Packers news, along with our most humble, subjective opinions. This is episode 313. We're recording this on a Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. The NFL schedule released an hour and 45 minutes ago. All the hype in the world, it just dropped on us. So I am joined by Ren. He's right there. He's the co-host. I'm Tay. And just for all you podcast listeners out there, this is a video episode, so go check us out on YouTube. But Ren, thanks for joining me on this release Wednesday for the Packers and the NFL.
Another NFL holiday day. They can make them up wherever they want, and here we are in the middle of May, and the NFL once again takes ownership of all things professional sports, even when it's the off season for them. So, no, it's exciting, man. I mean, we were all just waiting. We knew, obviously, the who. We mostly knew the where, but there was that Steelers thing. Could they go to Dublin? Then we heard, in the last few weeks that the Steelers would protect that game, knowing that, Green Bay fans travel. This is a big game to have in Pittsburgh. They don't want to miss that one. So essentially we knew the who and the where, just not the when. So we've got it, Tay. We've got the full 17-game schedule with a couple anecdotes at the final two games of the season are Saturday or Sunday TBD.
Yeah.
So not necessarily there. And the final one of the season, at Minnesota against the Vikings, that could be a huge game with huge implications. But, man, the leaks did well this week, Tay, I would say early. The NFL did their leaks on purpose their last couple of days. And then, like you mentioned to me, a lot of it is going to leak out on Wednesday. And it did. You could kind of piecemeal this thing about, 6 hours ago where you had pretty good idea of 9 or 10 of the 17 games, but you had to wait finally until 7 o'clock, which I didn't hit it until 7:28. I'm like, oh crap, I'm doing a bunch of things, making some dinner. I'm late to the party, and there it is. I'm like, whoa, awesome. Can't wait to dig into it. And spent the last hour just kind of parsing this thing out, get my feelings about it. But before I get into mine, anything immediately from the schedule or other Packer notes that you would like to speak to first, Ed?
Now we'll get into the schedule itself in proper fashion in just a minute. It drops today. They obviously leak a bunch of stuff during the day. Somehow that stuff gets out. Yesterday, I think, was officially by the NFL, announcing the overseas games, and then some of the networks were announcing some games. So we got like 2 Packers games announced yesterday officially.
But then it breaks down. Ones,
Yeah. But then, then the rest comes out. I guess I'll just quickly say this: like, if they wanted to do this, like in a actual release at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, they could do that. I don't know where all this leak stuff comes from. If they want to harness this like release date, like they could do it better. Like, I don't like the leaks, honestly. Like, what's the difference? If everybody knows at 7 o'clock anyway. So I guess I'm a little like, maybe old school, like disappointed. I can wait for a surprise. Honestly, I'm that way. I'll wait forever as long as I know it's gonna come eventually. I don't care. So with this, I would love it if nobody knew until 7 o'clock. Literally, they could just hold that information back. But I don't know what advantages they have to leaking this stuff or people leaking this out. I really don't. What does it do? Does it get you more social media followers? I don't really know, but I would rather just, black and white, release it at 7, and then have literally people are doing live streams and doing this event, but everyone knows what it is. So it's like, so all you're really doing is getting an opinion like what we're doing now. So
100%. That's fun, Tay. I mean, I guess you were not, my brother and I, circa 1988, unwrapping NES games and then playing them and rewrapping them. So you just wanted to leave it and be surprised with that excite bite, when it was under the tree, rather than maybe giving it a few playthroughs before you even got to Christmas.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, this stuff happens, but I think if this is the NFL, right, they want to make everything this huge deal, and I think they could do a little better. That's all I'm saying, is they could really hold the information back. They don't, like, Goodell could literally have it on his computer and just wait for the moment to release it. So someone out there that knows more than me can tell us why we're getting these leaks the day of. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but it could be more grandiose. But we'll get to that in a minute.
But I think they did a better job this year.
Yeah.
With their purposeful leaks yesterday and Monday, and then obviously Wednesday. There's just probably too many press releases to teams, and people know people, and little birds. You don't want to get into Game of Thrones, but they're little birds that talk, and then we're hearing that this game, and that's kind of some of the fun that comes out of it. I think especially for some of these beat guys and other people out there, they need a nugget here and there to it spices things up for them. So everybody's always digging today. I think there's just too many people that get into this stuff and want to know, and ultimately you have releases. So
well, we'll get into that in our opinions in a minute, but first there's a couple things to get out of the way. You could tell me more about this. I saw this in headlines and I didn't really follow along in the details, but Elgton Jenkins evidently wants maybe a restructure on his deal before the season starts, and it's something the Packers may be interested in doing. Can you tell me more about this?
Well, obviously they signed Aaron Banks in the offseason, as we know. Not quite the caliber of player at that same position that Elgton Jenkins currently plays. And a lot of the talk around this and in all the beat media is simply, Elgton's been the consummate teammate and professional. He has played literally every position on that line, done everything asked for. He is on his second contract in Green Bay. But the reality is his contract, after next year, they can 100% get out of it, save all the money. So he has no guarantees beyond the 2025 season.
Okay, that's the thing, huh?
Yeah, and I don't think he is not opposed to playing center, but he knows that position, when you do hit free agency, is not as valuable. And then, as many have pointed out, hey, you're now paying a guy more than me to play my position that I'm better at. And that's the truth. I mean, Aaron Banks is not as good at that position as Elgton Jenkins is. Elgton Jenkins can play everywhere. He's uber valuable. Mm-hmm. So he just wants, and his agent should feel that way too. He wants some reassurances that, hey, how can we do this to make me feel good about moving over here? And, I'll do it. And I've shown you I'll do it. So, just give me a little money, massage the, whole relationship here, and we move on. It's not like he's going to hold out anything like that, but you can understand where he's coming from. It seems a little off-putting, when, the end of the matter with all these guys is, hey, we got to make sure we get paid. And especially when you're a good teammate and you're good for the team as far as always being flexible, show them a little bit more money and you move on.
Yeah. I guess, I don't disagree with his sentiment, and from all indications that I've seen, which is not that much, it doesn't seem like there's any bad blood. There's nothing like that going on. Elton's the consummate professional, I think, on the Packers as far as we know. And there should be nothing to see here. Hopefully they do something and extend him, because like you said, if they don't, if he's a center, great. If he's a guard, even better. But they need the guy, especially for some depth on the line. And if he's the center, I'm a little kind of curious as to who's going to be the backup center, or who could be the backup center. I guess we'll see more of that during training camp to figure that out. But I think the other thing to move on to is Jayden Reed. Evidently, it's been reported that Brian Gutekunst, the GM, meets with Jayden Reed's agent or entourage to kind of go over what the strategy is for the wide receiver room and his role in it. And I think that was all the information I saw. I didn't see any details. I don't think we know any details, but then you can kind of infer or deduct that maybe Jayden's like, hey, what's going on here? You drafted these receivers. Where's my role? What's my plan on this offense? But it sounds positive that nothing, bad happened. It was just kind of like, oh, hey, let's just get together, get on the same page. And hopefully we hear nothing more of this, because this is definitely something you don't want to either fester or develop resentment or miscommunication to where Jaden is now perhaps disgruntled or not agreeing with his trajectory, of what he's supposed to be doing here. And there was a position coach, I think it was yesterday, said he gained almost 15, 20 pounds in the off season. He's like almost just barely under 200 pounds. So that's good news. Maybe he's bulked up a little bit. And I don't know. I think we all love Jaden Reed, and I think he has a place on this offense, especially I think when it comes to Love and him. Yeah, he maybe fell off a little bit at the end of the last year, but I think everyone's looking forward to having him back, being one of the main targets for Jordan Love.
I mean, and Jay Reed is primarily a slot guy. I think Aaron Nagler said it best. I actually watched a piece on him talking about it when people were freaking out about it. My first thought was like, why are we doing this? Where is this coming up from? This wide receiver room? Why does this have to be drama? I thought it was all for one for all 2 years ago, and now here we are. But he made a really good salient point, and that was Jay Reed's agent now is Drew Rosenhaus. We know he's been a thorn in the Packers' side forever and a day. None of us are Drew Rosenhaus fans. He clearly does well for his clients, but this is a really new move from Jay Reed to Drew Rosenhaus, apparently in the last month, maybe 6 weeks. So, obviously they had the draft they had, and, Drew Rosenhaus is doing his thing where he, hits probably Brian Gutekunst stuff on a video chat and says, hey, where are we at? And releases a statement to the media because he wants to show his client that he's got his back, and hey, we're good. You're still the number one there. And it's a bunch of nothing really. Jay Reed's fine. Listen, Matthew Golden's going to play mostly on the outside. Sure, Savion Williams will play some inside stuff. It is what it is. But Jay Reed is on the team the next 2 years. He's on a contract. Let's go ball out, play well. No big deal there. I think that's it's more of a leak to the media from his agent to show him, hey, I'm working for you. I'm doing the right things by you. Keeping you forefront of Green Bay Packers management's mind. Just go do your thing, and you're going to get paid. And really, that's it. And I loved how Aaron put it that way. And he mentioned he heard from people inside the organization that, it's just pretty normal business kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, hopefully it's business as usual. This stuff normally happens. It's just because maybe Drew Rosenhaus is a more high-profile agent that he does press releases like that, and this information gets out. I just hope in no way, shape, or form this comes back negatively. Because you get people hearing stories and then they make up things, right? And that's where you can get into trouble and like gossip, rumors and stuff. It's like, this could have turned in easily to Jay Reed is disgruntled, with the draft, we're upset that they drafted two wide receivers. So it's nothing like that. And thank goodness it isn't, because we don't need that.
And I think it's really easy to see a press release like that as an average fan and just jump to conclusions and get pissed about it and use it as a talking point and wonder what the hell's going on in the wide receiver room. I mean, we know it's a mercurial position in any NFL team as far as, where does the drama come from? Usually the WR room, it's just one of those things. But I think they're going to be okay there. And hey, really listen, what they did in the draft and what they have, as far as, going to camp with, they've got a super deep room and it's going to be fun. That's all I'm looking at it. And all those guys should be like, this is a super healthy competition. Let's go.
Yeah. Speaking of the draft, this was the hat I got. If everyone can see that, it's got the Green Bay Wisconsin thing there. The draft 2025. This was from the TikTok I did. Ren, I know you're on the TikTok all the time. You probably saw our TikTok when I went and visited up there like a week and a half ago or so. So go check that out. You can see some of the stuff I got. And it was only like 4 days after the draft. I went up there, and it was pretty much ghost town, just construction workers taking stuff down. So we're on the TikTok. I try to get to that as much as I can. So yeah, go check out our social media. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Instagram, of course X, and now we're on the Talk. Anything more, Ren, before we get onto the schedule?
Yeah, this is my gear today.
Oh yeah, look at that. In
My
memory of Uke. He's got a Uke shirt on.
Yeah, it's from my old man. It's an old man T-shirt from an old man. Showed up in my mail, some weeks ago from South Florida. So I thought I'd wear this really goofy old man shirt. So I love myself some Bob, but when the old man buys you a shirt, he really doesn't know what you're into. So, speaking of your merch there, this is mine for today's show. So.
No, you're keeping it real, keeping it Wisconsin. Love it.
It's Scotty as hell. Your grandmother might be wearing this, at a funeral. I don't know. So.
Well, between the two of us, friend, you are our, liaison to other Wisconsin sports, because longtime Packer Universe listeners know I don't really get into any basketball, baseball, or college. That's if anybody does, it's you. Yeah, thanks for repping the Brewers. Where are the Brewers at? I mean, are they even gonna do anything this year?
Well, let's not digress. I'll give you a quick rundown. They're just hovering around 500 baseball today. They've got way too many injuries to starting pitchers.
Ooh.
Another one announced today with Jose Quintana going on the IL, and you don't know what to do with it. But if they get healthy and all these starting pitchers come back, they're going to be good shape for a nice late season run. So that's what the Brew Crew's at. They're struggling a little bit. They're having some internal strife, but I think they're in a good position based on all the pitching injuries and how the front end of the pitching staff and the middle relief will work out. Put it that way. You didn't understand the last bit I said, but that's okay.
Right over my head, man. Right over my head. Well, hopefully, at least in Wisconsin, it's usually one of the teams that does well every year. If it's not the Bucks, if it's not the Brewers, it's the Packers. Sometimes the Badgers get in there. There's always at least one team that's competitive in their league, right? We're hoping it's the Pack this year.
We've been fortunate for the main three always being competitive for many, many years now, and having a great state of sports in the state of Wisconsin. The Brewers is always joked, hey, they're usually really good enough to get you to September, and then it's time for the Packers to take over. That's the joke.
Yeah, I kind of always hear that.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, let's get on to the schedule release.
But before we do,
you got one more thing.
You see the schedule release Packer video.
I did not. I was.
Oh
no! I was in
together right now. If you could play this, insert in video. There is a Mark Murphy piece today.
Oh, is it the what the hell is going on out there? Is it that one?
Yeah. And then he says, get the F off my field. And there's an actual letter F moving across this field.
No way.
And then he says, I have no more to give. No more
Wow.
F to give.
What?
I was like, damn, nice, Mark. It was poetry. It was my favorite part of the whole thing. The meddler hits us with no more
explicit
F to give in the video. He doesn't say the word, but
yeah, I know, but geez, that's a little risque for him, isn't it?
I know,
Mr. Company Line.
Yeah, he had some fun on his way out. So
wow.
Yeah, Mark made that piece for me. So anybody out there in Packer Universe, definitely go check out the Packers schedule release. It's kind of Josh Jacobs and a Bad Dream, and everybody's in there, and it's pretty fun.
Okay, no, I apologize to Packer Universe. I did not get a chance to watch that before we jumped on here with our release video, so I apologize. I guess that is the thing, go always doing these videos, doing these presentations, which is why I think they should make a little more deal about it. They shouldn't give you all the information before and then drop these cool videos down that they do every year. But no, I'll go look at that, and everyone out there should as well. Schedule release 2025. I'm gonna put this graphic up I just kind of copied a bit of what's on Packers.com. This is the PDF file that you can print off and put on your refrigerator, right next to your
Nice.
family and your kids' little
That
drawings.
probably more important than either of those things, but
Yeah, and they have a little
move on.
result
Yeah.
spot right there. You can put a W, or sometimes an L. Hopefully not a T. Hopefully a W.
No T's. Let's go W or L. No doubt.
All right, so I'll go. I'll just kind of go throw these out there really quick for all the listeners out there, and then we'll backtrack, get our opinions, each of us, Ren, about the schedule and our first thoughts, first takeaway. We got preseason 3 games, 1 at home against the Jets right away, 1 away against the Colts, and then back home for the third one, Seahawks. We start the year at home against Detroit. Second week is at home against the Commanders.
That's a Thursday. Make sure we're getting those there because they go Sunday afternoon to, Thursday. I mean, you got 4 days, man, back-to-back home games. But let's go
at Cleveland. 2 weeks at Cleveland, and then at Dallas, and then we have a bye week, week 5. We're at home against the Bengals, at the Cardinals in Arizona, and then at Steelers. We're home for 2 weeks, first against the Panthers, then against the Eagles. This is week 11 now. We're at the Giants, back home, week 12 against the Vikings, away in week 13 at Detroit. We're back home against the Bears in week 14. We're away in Denver against the Broncos in week 15. Week 16, we're at Chicago. And week 17, we're home against the Ravens. And week 18 is at the Vikings. Those last 2 weeks, like you mentioned before, Ren, are kind of like up in the air, TBD. There's 2 dates listed, and I kind of like that right now. The NFL is identifying that we don't know where we want this. This might be a big game for us, so we want to, save it, or just whatever scheduling options might come open for the NFL. I kind of like this rather than waiting for a flex or asterisk. Just whatever, just put it on the schedule like this. I mean, for me, like, the schedule release isn't that huge of a deal because we live so close to Green Bay. We're not going to go to any away games, but if people were coming into town, this is a perfect opportunity to start scheduling your trip to Green Bay. And maybe those last 2 weeks where you have 2 days options doesn't really work for you. You want to choose one. So maybe I think that's the only bad thing about that. But otherwise, they're all listed. We've got, almost 8 primetime games, I think.
It can't be 8. The most you can get is 5, so it can't be 8.
Well, I'm just saying,
here, but
I'm just saying,
1, 2, 3, take and count up.
No, I'm just saying, 7:15, 3:25 is prime time.
3:25 is definitely, you're in the media scope, would not be considered a prime time game, so to speak.
Let's rewind here to the preseason run. The Jets. We get the Jets at home. Man, if Aaron would have just stayed on that team for 1 year longer, he would have been back in Green Bay for maybe a joint practice against the Green Bay Packers. That would have been kind of fun. But alas, he's not. He's not even on the team right now.
Tay, he wanted to stay there, or so we hear, and then he was released. Tay.
Yeah. Well, I know. But I'm sure, if they were doing well and Aaron was kicking some butt and maybe whatever, he could have been on the Jets. But anyway, at Colts and then home against Seahawks in the preseason. Meh. I mean, you're probably going to get at least one joint practice out of that. We'll see if it's the Seahawks or the Jets. Let's get into the regular season, Ren. We got the first 2 home games. Probably since a while. I mean, we've got the first opener against Lions at home. We haven't had a home opener in probably 4 or 5 years now. It seems like maybe it's even more. I don't even know what the stat is on that.
It has not happened in the Matt LaFleur era. Last time was that infamous game that Aaron Rodgers in the last year of the McCarthy era hurt his knee, came back, shot up on, I don't know, Toradol or something, and came back to beat the Bears in the final minutes of the game. I went to my car. Yeah, that game.
Yeah, so that's the one you went to the car.
That is the last
embarrassing
opening week home game. Yes, it's embarrassing, but hey, life is life. I did that. I thought the season was over. So little overreaction. That's not how I do things anymore. But the emotions were high at the time. Maybe the imbibing was as well. So hard to say.
And then you mentioned before, 4 days later, week 2, we're Thursday night at home again against the Commanders. So that's fine. I mean, I don't like back-to-back games like that, but the fact that they're at home, we're staying home basically. We're not even away until week 3. That's fine. The Packers can handle that. It's early, so maybe you are able to beat the Detroit Lions. I mean, that's gonna be a tough game right out of the gate. Maybe you either have a ton of confidence coming out of that game, or you're beat down and everything's exposed. Having the Commanders come in. The Commanders, aren't terrible. They made the playoffs and they went pretty far last year. So
they went to the NFC Championship game, Tay.
Yeah,
we know that they beat Detroit in Detroit. I love the first 2 games, Tay. It's like, let's go. Like,
yeah,
no, you're not kind of like shaking out the cobwebs. You're like, it's on. Week 1, 325 at Lambeau against the Lions, a team that's kind of kicked your ass and kicked you around the last couple of years, and they sure like to talk about it. They hang division banners in Detroit. We don't do that here in Wisconsin. And then you get the upstart, Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels 4 days later. I love it. I mean, what are you made of? I know, unfortunately, September ends up being extended preseason, but you got to, mind your P's and Q's and dot your I's and cross your T's, because it's on right away against competition. We know, one of the biggest talking points last year was how they didn't fare well against, good teams. And they're there right away. And I love the truth test. So let's go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Got to come out of the gate really strong. We can't be dinking around. We have to be confident and right out of the gate. So I love the test. It is just that. And the Commanders have to come off of a short week themselves coming into town. So we right there we have an advantage, I think. So let's use it wisely and let's steamroll 2 NFC opponents right away. Get it done. Weeks 3 and 4 are away. First one's against the Browns, and then we have a Sunday night football game at Dallas Cowboys. So Browns not really scaring me. Cowboys, until they prove it, it could be tough, but not really. I'm not really worried about it. I think those 2 are definitely winnable also. And those are 2 away games, and then you get the bye week right after. So what do you make of those 3 games, or those 3 weeks? Sorry.
Honestly, you hope not to be coming into Cleveland 0-2. If you do, you get the mini bye anyway, so you should get to 1-2. I think they'll be at 2-1 or even 3-0. I do. And Dallas is no easy place to go and play. Oftentimes it is for the Green Bay Packers. We know the success down there. You've got a brand new coaching regime down there. You kind of wonder where Dak's going to be, where this team is. They've lost some pieces on defense. They're so on offense. I think they could come out going to that bye 3-1. You hate the week 5 bye. That's the one thing when this thing was finally released, rubber stamped. You're like, really, the earliest possible bye you can get in the NFL, the Packers get. Yeah. You don't like to see it. That's not how you want it to go. I know others pointed out, hey, maybe it's just some juice. The Eagles last year had week 5 bye and won the Super Bowl. So who the heck knows, Tay? I'll throw that anecdote out there because I heard it earlier today as well. But I think they can easily be 2-2, if not 3-1, coming into their game, the following game against, I want to say, against Cincinnati the following week out of the bye.
Yeah, I hate the bye week at week 5. Never liked that. I always hate it. I never wanted our team to have it, obviously. And it kind of goes without saying that you always wanted it either halfway through the season or 2/3 of the way through, so you can get some guys back with injuries or whatever. But I understand your sentiment and your kind of reference there. Like if it's done and out of the way early, you got no choice but to push forward for the rest of the season. You have to use what the players that are healthy and available. You have to use those, and you just have to keep working and working and working. So maybe there's something to that. I mean,
Yep.
hopefully we don't have to worry about it too much with injuries, but that's always a reality of the situation. So week 5, not great for that, but whatever. Let's we'll take what they give us and try to make the best of it. We're back home at week 6 against the Bengals, and then 2 away games in a row at Cardinals and then at Steelers. And the Bengals coming into town, I'd rather have that than going there. We'll see what that high powered offense has to offer at that point. But then you get the Cardinals the week after, not worried about that, and then you get the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in, and maybe Aaron Rodgers is on that team. I'm sorry, we're going to the Steelers. Maybe have Aaron Rodgers on that team, maybe not, but that seems like a definite like blue collar Midwestern matchup that the Packers have to walk away with a win there. Especially if Aaron's on that team, we got to get a win. That's Sunday Night Football. I'm looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, that next section of the schedule is really interesting. Obviously, getting the Bengals in Green Bay, we know they don't have much of a defense. Will Trey Hendrickson even be playing at that point? Will he be on the Packers? Who knows? We don't know what's happening today. But that's a perfect place to get them. You're coming off the bye, potential dub there. Going out to Arizona and then all the way back out to Pittsburgh is their longest travel stretch of the season. They're, I think, the 26th most traveled team this year, so it means they don't have much travel at all, travel-wise. But that is their biggest stretch. They're going to go out to Arizona. Still be hot out there. Not an automatic W. I don't love Kyler Murray. I don't think he's, going to take the Cardinals to the promised land. He's getting to the point where they're going to have to start looking at new options in the next couple of years. Personally, the writing is on the wall with the Steelers, Tay. They got a week 1 matchup against the Jets, Tay. All indications
poetic
when you see that, and remember Justin Fields played for the Steelers. Last year. So I got flip-flops. Aaron Rodgers is going to the Steelers, Tay. And they are licking their chops with the Packers traveling out to Pittsburgh to play Aaron Rodgers. And if that's the case, it's going to be great drama. I look forward to it. Can't wait. And obviously, I would think the Packers would win that game. The Steeler D is always good, so you never know. And they're great on their home turf. So look forward to that matchup. I don't look at it any more than a kind of a toss-up game at this point per that game.
The next 3, we're looking at home game against the Panthers, home game against the Eagles. That's a Monday Night Football game. And then away against the Giants in week 11. Panthers shouldn't scare you. Eagles, that's going to be a tough one. I'm glad it's at home. That is going to be a big NFC matchup, I do believe. That's a gold package for those Milwaukeeans. They get that one on Monday night, November 10th.
Along with Washington, yep.
Yeah, along with Washington. So, yeah, those are those next 3. What do you think about those?
Obviously, Carolina is the one you hopefully just kind of in your mind chalk up a W. They were improving in the season went on last year, so we'll see, Tay. I think that is an improving football team. I don't mark down anyone in my mind as an automatic win, but you would think that is one of the easier pieces of the schedule throughout the year. The Eagles is a really tough one, man. I mean, the Eagles are coming off their bye when they come to Lambeau. So they've got their bye plus an extra day because it's a Monday night. You don't love it based on how that works. We'll see how the Eagles are that far into the season, but I would say that one immediately, if I'm trying to pick wins and losses, I would tip to, even though in Green Bay, I would tip to the Eagles based on that, luxury of having that extra time off. Gesundheit.
Excuse me. I was sneezing off mic. All right. Next three games. We got the Vikings at home, Detroit in Detroit, the Lions in Detroit, and then back home against the Bears. Those are all noon games. Those are all divisional matchups. Kind of nuts going back to back to back with our division there.
Love it, Tay. Super tough.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. That's November 23rd Vikings, and then 4 days later on Thanksgiving, you got the Detroit Lions. And then you have the Chicago Bears, like a little while later, a week and a half later. But nuts. That is crazy. And, it really, since you're at Detroit, you're really staying in the Midwest there. You're at home twice and then just Detroit. So it's not like you're going far. So the schedules won't be out of whack. But that's going to be a crazy 3-game stretch there.
It's brutal, Tay. But that's where the money's made, as they say. That's your division. That is where the division will be won and lost, will be decided in that three-game stretch for the Packers. You'll know where they stand. Ultimately, when you get to that game against Chicago and you got a mini-bye to play them at home, I think that game obviously suits them. Never fun to, our friend Rob Domofsky. He does not want to go to Detroit on Thanksgiving because he can't get out of there with a flight. And I feel bad when I heard that today. I thought of previous conversations we've had with Rob, how he'll be stuck in Detroit eating some kind of, Salisbury steak, warm thing in a hotel room that night. But, that said, I think the Viking game is the most important Viking game of the year because the one at the end of the year might not matter. So they got to get them in Green Bay. And hopefully you come out and Jordan gets that turkey leg in Detroit, where they didn't give it to him 2 years ago because they weren't prepared, and then they get the mini bye and beat the Bears, and they go on a 3-0 stretch there, Tay.
Ooh.
I mean, it could be epic. So It is an extremely brutal but super fun little piece of time there with the back-to-back-to-back division games. I love it.
It's not like it's the last 3 games of the season, right? So like you have this little chunk here that for the Packers is really important. I mean, this is probably equivalent to what basketball, baseball, where you have like a series almost. Like you're playing in your division, like these 3 games, and they all matter a lot. And it's concentrated football for the Packers, and I love that. Those 3 weeks are gonna be nuts.
And it's not even 3 weeks. It's like what? 17 days they're playing those 3 games. You're going to be like over the moon and scared shitless about it at the same time. You're just going to be like, oh my God, this is so great, but man, it's got to turn out right. So it's fantastic. I love it.
Let's take the next 4 games right away. The last 4 games at Denver, and then at Chicago in week 16, and then 17 we're at home against the Baltimore Ravens, and then last game of the season, like you mentioned, at Minnesota Vikings. The Denver one is a 3:25 game. The Chicago one at Chicago in week 16. It says 3:30 or 7 p.m. So that's where you get another like prime time possibility there.
But it will be on a Saturday, as we know.
Saturday, right. And I don't know. Like maybe they're like, well, maybe this game might actually be important to us, and trying to, be a marquee game. We'll see. So maybe that's where they're putting that in. I do like that. Instead of just saying like we might flex this, just be like, well, we're already building in here. You can kind of see what we're thinking here. Ravens at home, you gotta love that. The advantage of home field, hopefully at the end of December. That one, yes, that one's gonna be tough. The Ravens are tough. They're a good team, although they do fall apart in the playoffs quite often. I'm gonna be scared of that game. You need to win all those games that you can, even if they're non-divisional, they're non-conference. But having them at home is great. I don't know. What are you thinking about those last 4 games here?
I mean, flying out to Denver, getting at altitude is always a question mark. Obviously, a young upstart team played really well last year, so we'll see how that one goes. I think that one's a toss-up just in my mind at this point. Obviously, playing the Chicago Bears in Chicago, we'll see how the season goes. It's going to be really interesting. I'm, really interested to see how the Bears, with the change of the coaching staff and actually getting, some good players in there, and they're in year 2 of this rebuild. I think they could be in good shape and could be a really important matchup on a Saturday, which is always more fun. Personally, I love late season Saturday football because guess what? Sunday you get to just relax and do your thing. It's winter, just hang out. You don't have the pressure of your game, so that part's fun to me. The Ravens, yeah, tough matchup. That team is always a physical football team. You know that they're gonna pound the rock in your face. We've got Lamar running the football. The defense is always, aggressive, fast, fiery. It's always a difficult team to play. And then finally, what will there be to play for, that final week of the season in that first week of January against the Vikings? It might mean nothing. It might mean literally the NFC North today. That's how big that game could be in Minneapolis to end the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I'm looking at this schedule as a whole, I guess my first takeaway here is that there aren't like any runs against easy opponents. All the hard opponents are kind of sprinkled in. You really have to focus early and be decisive and win some games out of the gate. But when I look at the last 10 games from week 9 on, you're only out of your area twice against the Giants and the Broncos. Those are the only 2 away games that are out of the Midwest. So out of the last 10 weeks, you're close to home. And I mean, the NFL and the NFL, players are all on a regiment. And I think when you disrupt that regiment, you have an opportunity for failure, or, you don't have continuity. And looking at just that, basically, I love that they're around town. They're in the Midwest. Even if they're away, they're either in Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis. So they're around, and I love that. So I want to point that out. To me, that's great. I mean, they have 5 primetime games. That's pretty typical now of the Packers. I think that will continue going forward every year. And I guess just looking at this, you got about 5 or 6 12 o'clock games. So it's a little bit of everything, but I don't think the schedule is that hard. I think it's kind of favorable to the Packers. I'm looking forward to it. I don't see major issues with it. Obviously, I don't like the bye week, but what am I going to do about that? And maybe in the end, that gives us a strange trajectory that we're just going to ride this out, and just put all gas, no brake. Right, Ren?
Hope the piss is hot, say, whatever you want to call it. But listen, I think the schedule before it even laid out, we know it was a tougher schedule this year. They have a lot of, on paper, really good opponents to play. They don't have a lot of cupcakes on there. And we know one team that's supposed to be easy is going to end up being a good team. And definitely one team that's supposed to be great is going to end up being an easy team. That's the way the NFL works year to year. We'll see what happens. At first blush, I'm not going to walk through each one and throw dubs and L's at you. But I'm going to say 11-6, 12-5 is kind of the top end of that schedule.
Yeah, I think every team, if they had their chance, or every fan would say 10-7, right? And that's kind of where we.
Well, 10-7 that's just like. The reality is we have a good quarterback. We have good pieces on offense. The defense got better throughout the course of the season. Obviously, if you listen to Jeff Hafley's presser on Monday, talked about how that all progressed, but it's time to continue to progress. And what it comes down to is the Green Bay Packers are a good football team. 2025, I think, will be defined by, what is the true Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. And that's going to mean a hell of a lot to the success and the wins and losses that occur during the season.
Yep. And I could say 10-7, but I'm not going to do that. I don't know if I'm ready to say a win-loss record, Ren, to be honest, but
for me, it's 11 or 12, Jay.
Yeah, I think it's 11-6, but I guess I will say that I believe that they will make the playoffs. Either that's winning the division or they're going to get in with the wild card, which is a lot easier these days. But I think this division, NFC North, is, going to be one of the toughest again this year, and the Packers need to win all the games they can. I think they definitely get in. That's just my prediction. That's my gut feeling. Looking at the schedule here, to me, like, yeah, you have tough opponents, but they are either at your home, which I know maybe Lambeau Field, home field advantage has diminished over the years. However, I think maybe that's time to turn that around, but I still think that gives you an advantage. And I like when hard teams come into town here. And you just got to prove it on your home field. But yeah, I'm pretty confident they're going to go to the playoffs. That win-loss record. Right now, I'm not ready to do that. And honestly, I don't even think I need to do that because I believe that they're going to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say so as well today. I mean, again, going back to it, I really do think this is 2025 is the season of Jordan Love. If he has an above average to great season, I think we've got a 6-year window that's open, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about it over the next 6 years.
Sweet, Ren. Well, that's the schedule. We'll be doing some more stuff with that. Maybe do an official prediction later on, or at least I'll get it on paper. We can put it on our website, PackerUniverse.com. But you got anything else for the Packer Universe people for the episode?
I know they per Rob's reporting today, they added the fill out of the 90-man roster, which is a wide receiver, formerly another South Dakota State player from the Jackrabbits, played for the Dolphins, I want to say, last year. So they're full on up at 90 today, unless you've got anything else.
No, I don't. I appreciate everyone watching, listening, downloading, following us. Please continue to do so. We'll be giving you guys some great content over the off season here. We'll do some dive in episodes on the roster, starting roster, that sort of thing, and hopefully bringing you guys some more guests throughout the off season and the preseason.
Yeah, Tay. I mean, and anybody that can go start subscribing on YouTube. We do this. We work 9-to-5 jobs, Tay. We do this for fun. We do it for free. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can make $1 off of YouTube. That is our life goal. If we do that once, we are grateful. So please do. Again, we do this gratis because we enjoy each other, but we also enjoy talking some Green Bay Packer football. So until episode 300, Tay, and 14, we've done that many times for free, and probably another 314 on the pup list.